Breaking news tonight, the coronavirus outbreak
now spreading so quickly. The World Health Organization
has just declared that this is a pandemic.
Governor Whitmer is expected to cancel the rest of the school year.
School districts in our area are closed today, but come Monday, all K through 12 schools in Michigan will be closed for the next 3 weeks.
Governor Whitmer has announced the closure, as we mentioned, of all schools K through 12.
That Governor Whitmer is going to close schools for the rest of the year. The question is, how are schools preparing and how will they react if this happens?
Hopkins. I teach second grade at Lakewood Elementary.
I am Mrs. Meyer and I teach IB Math SL.
Lindsay Welcott is my name and I teach broadcasting courses at West Ottawa High School. Currently there are 3 broadcasting courses.
My name is Ryan Burke and I teach science classes here at the high school. I'm currently teaching chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and AP biology.
I was completely surprised. I was prepared to do parent-teacher conferences that afternoon, and those all got canceled, and I went home and went to bed and woke up to 43 messages from my coworkers saying that we would be going to school for one more day and then wouldn't have school until after spring break.
We all just kind of were chatting about what we thought it was going to look like, what was going to happen. But we all went home that evening just thinking nothing of it, that maybe it would happen. We would still have at least a week to go, and then it would just be a nice little shutdown before spring break.
I remember the days prior to that Thursday evening 11 p.m. announcement, and there was a lot of uncertainty. I think we all suspected something was going to happen, but we didn't know what and we didn't know when.
Leading up, I knew that we would probably miss some days due to the virus, but I guess I didn't know that we would miss all of the days, so we just wouldn't be back. So I thought that was interesting. I was definitely surprised by the fact that we shut it down entirely all year.
I was really sad. I wanted to be able to finish out the school year and thought initially that we would just have those 14 days off and after spring break we'd be able to go back.
If you would have asked me on March 12th, we were going to be off for a month and then we would all be back. It was going to slow the spread and we would all be able to come back in April. So that was totally the thought process. So no, in my weirdest reality, I never pictured that we would still be doing COVID right now.
I am shocked we have made it this far. And I'm not quite sure why, because now that I'm here and I see what we do and how we do it, and I see students wearing their masks, I'm not surprised. But when you're at home in the summer, hardly doing anything, and you're outside in beautiful fresh air, it doesn't make sense that we should be making it here without too many troubles to the middle of November. I don't think a lot of people expected the success that West Ottawa has had.
I knew it'd be around for a while, and I know a lot of us had that fatigue of having to worry about it, but I think we have some more time yet that we'll be dealing with it for quite a while yet.
Well, of course, I miss seeing those kids every day and being able to teach them face to face. I did the best that I could. I met with them virtually doing Google Meets, and I would have an open hour where the students could log in and check in with me or talk to their classmates. And the district did a great job of providing materials for the students to do. It just wasn't the same.
So when we went remote, the advantage was I already do a flipped class structure in my classes. So the advantage was my students were already pretty used to watching videos for instruction. But then it just became me hosting Google Meets from home and answering questions and kind of doing the in-class stuff and question and answer via Google Meet. But we all, as teachers, kind of scrambled to get out of here on March 13th, so I didn't have all my materials with me, and the buildings were completely shut down. Teachers had no access to anything in the buildings. So a couple of people dropped off whiteboard markers and whiteboards to me, so I had a whole classroom set up in my basement, basically with whiteboards, so that my Chromebook could face the whiteboards and I could still help students using my magic whiteboard down in my basement.
I decided to focus on what we could do instead of focus on what we couldn't do. We obviously couldn't really make shows. We obviously didn't even have a reason to make shows. There wasn't West Ottawa news that the high school needed to disperse in programming like we normally do on a daily basis. So I also recognize that you as students are living through this remarkable and memorable time in your life, and we should document that.
I think the whole teacher community has a few more tools in the toolbox as far as ways that we can engage and interact with our virtual community, if it comes down to that, and just how we plan lessons. We aren't able to get through as much content as we would in person. So 2 hours in the classroom looks a lot different with 2 hours in a virtual setting. And checking in early and often with students who maybe having a hard time or you haven't heard from, as opposed to just assuming that they're doing everything and getting everything.
Initially, the students were really excited to get online and see me. However, as the weeks progressed, they started participating less and less.
Those COVID closure vlogs had a pretty good turnout because they weren't hard, and I think people wanted to tell their story, and everyone had a story to tell. Other assignments had lower participation, but as the high school set up things with regard to grades and what counted, and it could bring your grade up, but it couldn't necessarily bring your grade down, the majority of my students had pretty awesome grades. And so on one hand, I was super annoyed that students weren't doing work. And the other hand, I was like, that kid has an A or an A minus or a B plus, and if he doesn't want to do this right now, it's okay. You know, it's okay. There's a lot going on.
I tried to have a couple Google Meets and didn't have a lot of takers. I was around, I think, 50% completion as far as turning assignments, things like that. And I know it was hard for a lot of the kids as well, whether it's technology or motivation, because I think online learning is a skill.
I liked the Google Classroom platform. It was easy for the students to find the work that they needed to do. That was an added bonus that I put in for classwork. The district did a really good job of providing weekly templates for the students to do, and it was consistent from grade level to grade level, so parents were able to follow along.
When you're doing a Google Meet type of a situation, just really stressing the importance of everybody's emotional health at the same time as the content. So just basically doing a few more check-ins and checking in how people are feeling with the content, but also how are you feeling being stuck at home? Is there anything else that we can do as a school to be helping you feel successful? But also finding ways to make everything more accessible to each student. So is there a way, like, are there more videos that I can provide for students, or should I be holding Google Meets more often? Those types of things, however we can meet the needs of the students.
I would recommend, I guess, like I talked about earlier, just checking in with your kids. And I know it can be tedious at times writing an email or meeting virtually, but I think that we all still want that interaction, and knowing that you're out there and that you care is a big piece of motivation, I think, for them, not only learning in your class but potentially completing assignments and going further in your content.
I think the biggest takeaway that I've learned is that we're resilient. No matter what challenges we face, we'll find a way to learn, and if we stay positive, we'll get the most out of this situation.
Just being able to feel thankful and find all of the joy in those really gross situations, and making sure that that's the priority, and trying to still instill some of that stuff right now, even when stuff is opening up a little bit more. It's nice to be able to fall back on, hey, remember these were some of our priorities during that closure time. Let's not forget about some of that stuff.
The main thing that I learned was to not take things for granted. I feel like it's really easy to focus on what was taken away because a lot of things were taken away. But if you force yourself to remain positive and be appreciative of what you do have and what you can experience and what you can participate in, that's the best mindset.
Well, I learned that I was not the best online teacher, and that I have zero desire to teach online permanently. But it is completely different not having actual human interaction in the classroom, and I think that was what I missed the most about the entire time off. It completely changes how you teach, ultimately, and I think a lot of what we were doing was emergency learning, as opposed to a true virtual experience.
I'm just really excited to be back in the classroom teaching, being around other staff members, and working with my students.
I think pandemics are annoying.
Don't forget that we are living through this time in our lives that we will remember for the rest of our lives.
I mean, it was weird. It's weird still, and I think it's gonna get weirder before it all gets better.
My name is Charlotte, my grade is 5th grade, and I go to Wakazu Elementary School. My name is Luke, I'm in 5th grade, and I go to Wakazu Elementary.
My name is Kelsey, and I'm in 8th grade, and I go to Harbor Lakes.
I'm Lydia, I'm a senior at West Ottawa High School.
Yes, I was sad because then I couldn't see my friends really that went to school with me, but I was also happy because sometimes it was better like to focus sometimes once in a while.
Why do we have to go home, but kind of excited that we get to go home and not go to school.
At first I was like shocked, but then I kind of like expected it.
I was pretty excited because 2 weeks off of school, I was stressed on my classes, thought it would be a nice break.
The homework sometimes took me a while because I was always distracted, so sometimes it took me more time than it would in school.
Because once it's assigned to you or something, then it's kind of hard to be focused when you're at home and there's things going on like inside the house and you stop to eat or do something and you stop in the middle of your work and then you kind of don't want to go back to it because you can do other things.
I did find it hard to keep up with my classes all online, and I didn't do a very good job.
Yeah, it was hard to find motivation to do the assignments online. I think I was kind of over all of it, and I didn't really want to do a lot of it.
It's really fun because I get to see my friends, and at recess we get to take our masks off, and at lunch, and sometimes we have mask breaks where we can just take our masks off and sit and talk and maybe play a little game or something. And but it's hard wearing masks, and like it's starting to get colder, so it's hard because we just got a new procedure where we have to go straight into the building because it's getting cold, and we had to like stand out of the building for a while till like everyone's in their class and then we walk in. Wearing masks all day.
It's going pretty good. The schedule's weird because we only have 3 classes a day, but yeah.
I'm excited to be back in school because I missed it, but it's really hard because we only have 3 classes a day and I feel stressed.
My favorite part was probably spending more time with my neighbor friends.
Went outside, play video games, think about not doing homework.
My favorite part was probably being able to sleep in and then like waking up and then not having to wake up to alarm.
My favorite part was that I felt like I didn't have any responsibilities, which felt good because during school I had a lot of responsibilities that I had to do, but during quarantine I just didn't really have to worry about a lot, which in some ways was stressful, but I think it felt like it was good. It was a good break.
That COVID is bad.
I learned that I need to be patient with my family. I feel like I definitely grew a lot closer with my family though.
I learned sometimes it's hard to do stuff you don't like, but even if you do it, you'll get through it and everything will be better soon.